All right, so hopefully you've now spent a little time, built a little maze or a grid map at least, so you've got something to work with here. And we've got our character moving around. In this case, it looks like I'm actually floating over top of my grid map, which you can either move your player down or, in the end, we're working with a 3D map and a 3D maze, so we might want to take advantage of that vertical building at some point in time so that we can not only have a maze that we need to move around this way, but also up and down. So let's have a look at how we can add some more movement features here so that we can take full advantage of the 3D nature of our game. So for this, I'm going to be moving into the player. At the moment, you could move that player up and down. If you wanted the player in a 2D world and you were only moving in 2 dimensions, you could move that player down so it hits the floor, and then make sure that the grid map is in line with the floor as well. But in this case, it doesn't really matter. I can be hovering over top because I'm going to get into the script of the player um, and add a little bit of movement here in a up and down fashion. Now, the first thing I want to look at is landing us on the grounds to make sure that I can go there. And actually let's jump up just so we can see it a little better. I'm going to put myself pretty high up there. Now, for this, I basically want to add some gravity. And at the moment, all of my movement is being done with action keys, up, down, left, and right, and maybe jump in the future. But I also want to add some gravity. So to keep my code nice and clean, I'm going to put some little headers here. So all of this is my movement. So I'm going to do a little hashtag movement here. And remember, anything with a hashtag in front of it is a comment that's ignored by the computer, but it helps me organize. And above that, I'm going to add a hashtag gravity, just so I can get some movement there. Now, keeping in mind, my up and down my forward, backward, left and right movement was in the X and Z direction, which means that my up and down is going to be in this Y direction here. And in this case, it looks like our Y is actually positive in the up direction. So let's have a look at uh, adding that to the code. There we go. So that means down will be a negative direction. So I can set the velocity dot y to equal some kind of speed. And previously I used some constants here. So let's add another constant to my game constant, gravity. And let's make it equal to, I don't know, let's try my move speed 7. Let's try 5 and see what it looks like. So I'm going to say gravity. And that is, sorry, positive direction. Yes, so in a negative direction, I want to move down. So that'd be -5. And there you go. You can see very quickly, I just kind of slowly fall down to the ground, much like my other thing. Now, previously, it didn't move down by itself because it's not a rigid body. I get total control over it. And I did get to see that very well. So let's move way up just so I can see what it's going to look like and how that's going to fall in a natural way. And to be honest, that doesn't look very natural. It still rolls around great, and we're moving fine that way there, but it just falls down in kind of a flat feeling thing. And you notice the blocks, on the other hand, move down in what felt like a realistic way. But the reason for this is because in reality, in a real situation, objects don't fall at a constant speed. They kind of start off slow. Let's say I'm a skydiver and I jump out of a plane. I start falling slowly and I get faster and faster and faster as time goes by. So to simulate this, rather than having to fall at a constant speed, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm setting the y velocity to -5, so it just falls at a speed of -5. I want to start off at a slow speed and then get faster and faster over time. So I'm going to say, I'm going to take the velocity dot y and I'm going to make it equal to velocity dot y minus, I guess say plus gravity, since gravity is a negative amount there. Let's make gravity 5. I think that's a little confusing for me. Minus gravity, because I'm falling down. I feel like that's a better way of going. So here's how it works. Remember, this is a loop, so it goes around and around. So at the beginning, velocity dot y is equal to 0. So we have 0 minus 5. So the first loop around, I'm -5. Now my velocity dot y is -5. The next time the game loop comes around, I say the velocity dot y is equal to -5 minus 5. So now it's -10. And then next time it's -15. And so over time, my velocity is getting faster and faster and faster. So I'm going to fall in a much more kind of realistic feeling. Whoa, that was really fast. So perhaps I want to change that gravity to, say, I don't know, let's make that 2. And here you get to kind of play around with the feeling and the word, the number there, 1.2. And I can just play around with some numbers until I get something that I'm kind of happy with. Oh, that feels a little more realistic there. You can see it started off slow and then kind of hits the ground quickly. Great. So now I've got gravity pulling me down, but I'm obviously going to need to be able to do the opposite of that. So I'm going to put a hashtag jumping section in here. And I have my up, down, left, and right, but I don't remember if we actually, in project settings, input map, did we put a jump? We did not add a jump there. So here I've got my up, down, left, and right. So I need now to add a jumping action. And I think for both keys, it's going to be spacebar would be handy. So let's add jump as a new action. And let's add my spacebar for the jump. So just added a new action so that I can now do that. And the jumping is going to be a lot like moving up. So let's just copy that idea. So I say if input dot is action pressed, and notice it pops up for me. There's my jump. Well, I kind of want to do the opposite of gravity, but I'm going to just jump with a blast of speed, and then gravity is going to slowly counteract that and pull me down. So I can simply say velocity dot y equals, and I don't want to be gravity because I need to overcome gravity. So I need some kind of jumping speed. So I'm going to add a jump speed constant up to my game here. So const jump speed equals, and I don't know, let's say it's 20. Let's try that number. And again, here's really a playing to see what it looks like and what it feels like to you. There's no magic mathematical formula here, like in reality. But I can now hit the ground and, oh, not bad. There we go. And now we've got a real jumping ball here. Now you may notice that we got a few problems. The big one being is that I can just hold down jump and I kind of float up into the air. And even if I don't hold it down, I can jump while I'm in the air. So that's a cool little bouncing ball trick, but not exactly what I'm hoping for as far as a maze. And you're going to want to play with those numbers again so that, I've got a wall here that I probably don't want to be able to jump over. So I may need my jump speed to be a little bit lower than that, just so I can just hop up on the level there. So, maybe jump speed needs to be more like 10. Let's see if that's a single jump. might just make it. Well, before we play around, let's make sure we can actually um, fix some of those jumping issues because I don't want to be able to float or fly up into the air. So let's have a look at that. So at the moment, the reason why we can float or fly up into the air is because I'm using the same is action pressed as with my movement. And the movement is great. As long as I'm holding down the up key, then I want to keep moving in that direction. But that's not what I want to have for jumping. I don't want to be able to just jump and hold it up um, and keep floating up and down. So luckily we also have a is action just pressed, which means rather than holding it down, you have to actually physically tap the key again to make it work. And this is great for things like jumping or shooting or dropping things so you don't get like 100 being created. Uh, we're just going to use that jump. And that should solve my first problem which is to be able to hold it down. Yeah, I have to actually hit it multiple times. So let's see here. Oh, my jump needs to be a little bit higher if I'm going to make it. Oh, I can do a double jump there. So maybe we go to 15 and see what that number looks like. There we go. That looks like a great number. Can't jump over can't jump over the wall. Oh, maybe I can. Anyway, we'll play with that number in a second. But the other issue being is now I can still do a double jump. And I can jump in the air and I can just keep tapping and keep flying here. So there's another thing we need to fix, and that is again in the jumping. So I want to be able to jump when I press jump, but I also have another requirement. I need to be on the ground or on top of something in order to jump. I don't want to be able to jump in the middle of the air. Now, I could have another if statement here to say, well, if I press jump and if I'm on the ground, then I could actually do the jump. But luckily, we have what's called a Boolean statement here, which in an if statement, we say, if this is true, do the following thing. But we can also kind of link that together with the and statement. So if I say, if I press jump and I'm on the ground, well, to test if you're on the ground, that could involve some fancy math and other lots of different things to check that. But fortunately, Godot has given us a and is on floor. In fact, they've given us a whole bunch of things because it's really common in game design to want to know if one of these things is true. So if I am on the floor is a function which will look below by default to make sure that you're on the floor. So if this is true and this is true, then the following will happen. With this and statement, that means both of these have to be true, though. If either of these is false, if I'm not pressing jump and I'm on the floor, nothing's going to happen. If I am pressing jump and I'm not on the floor, nothing's going to happen. These both need to be true for this whole statement to be true. Now that we've got that, you can see I cannot jump any more than once. I have to be on the floor. Let's check and see, is my jump height correct? That looks just perfect, actually. I can't quite get up over the edge there, but if in my level design, I wanted to build a little ladder to get up, then I could certainly do that. And now I've got the ability to kind of start working in 3 dimensions to create myself an amazing little game. So there is some jumping, have some fun, and start your level design to create something really interesting.